Good morning, everyone. Man, it's a nice sunny morning out there, which we don't get very often. You can see. Yeah, I gotta go out and clean the van out today. But anyway, this morning, while it's still cold, it was only 39, so I'm gonna start working on this until it warms up a little bit. I have a Techwood dual cassette deck TDX85. Now, I couldn't find diddly squat on Techwood, so I'm thinking it may be a rebrand that, you know, somebody else made and they branded it with Techwood, or it could be a department store brand. I did find a lot of these TDX85s. There's a lot of the cassette players, but it seems like this may be the only cassette deck that they built. But probably not. There's probably other ones, and I just didn't look real hard. I looked for the company Techwood, and there was nothing as far as Techwood that did electronics. From what I could tell, this is a 1985. Techwood, there was some consulting companies and some trading companies and stuff like that with the name Techwood, but no manufacturer of home audio equipment. So no history lesson today. Everybody's probably saying, yay, we don't have to listen to you. But you can see this one has been sitting for quite a while, and it is filthy dirty. This one we're not going to plug in yet until after I'm going to pull the cover off of this. There's no real place for anything to get in it. You know, there's no vents or anything on it. But the amount of crap that's on it, I want to take the cover off and make sure there's nothing inside before we plug it in and try it out. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to take the cover off and take a peek inside and see how it looks, and if it looks okay, then we'll go ahead and hook it up and see if it works, or see if we have to do anything to it to get it working, and then we'll get it cleaned up. This one has, you know, the dual cassette decks on it. We have dubbing, high speed, auto dub, Dolby NR, record, pause, and reverse mode. These were great for dubbing cassettes that you bought at the store, or making a cassette full of just your own songs. You could, you know, you put your factory in here, and then you could dub it over to another one. You could just add a bunch of songs to one cassette and make your own cassette with all your favorite songs on it. That's what was nice about the dual cassette decks, is you could make your own cassettes of your own music. Alright, let's get Mr. Mudball here. Let's get its cover off. All right, what do we got? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws on the back. There's not much going on the back of this one. They just have a audio out. Most of the cassette decks, there wasn't much on them. On the backs of them, you have your line in and your line out. Remote control, which obviously we didn't get remote control with this. That was probably something that you had to order separate. Just saying. Okay, and then we have 3 screws on either side. Hopefully, like I said, there shouldn't be anything in this. There's no vents on it. No way for anything really to get in it. But, you know, the amount of crap that's on the top of it, I kind of like to take a peek in the decks anyway, make sure that nothing got down inside of those before we test it out. But if anybody out there knows who made Techwood, leave a comment in the section below. Most of these just lift and pull. Alright. As you can see, there's not a whole hell of a lot to them. Just have your two decks and your control panel and your board. Not a whole heck of a lot to them. These are the push type. You just push them and they open. No eject. But from the looks of it, I don't see anything in them. And I do see belts. I have a flat belt there and a flat belt there that drives. So I think we can go ahead and hook this up and try it out, see what happens. Looks safe anyway. If there's nothing wrong with it, this is going to be a very short video. Dang. Okay, back here we want out. Okay. Turn it on, see if we... Oh, okay. Geez. It's on standby on. Little red indicator there. Now it's on. It's green. Okay, I'll round up a CD. I got Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Do play. Is it autoplay? Nope. Okay. Pause. Let's see. Here we go. So far, so good. we may have a good one. Both decks play. I'm gonna shut you off and let it play through a cassette, and I'll let you know if everything, if it plays all the way through or not. Sometimes they start out, if the one reel is all the way over, it can turn easier, and then as it builds up on the other side, then it starts slowing down, is what I have found. And what we'll do then is, well, in fact, since it's going to work so far, is we're going to get in and we're going to clean the heads and clean the pinch rollers on it and get it cleaned up. The cassette I put in there I really don't care too much about, so that's what I threw that in. But now we'll get the decks cleaned up, and we'll see how it plays. You can see these have a flat belt that drives them. That don't look and don't feel too bad. They're still tight, and they're not. I don't see any dirt caked on them or anything, so I think we're gonna be all right as far as belts go. We'll see. Like I said, I'll have to play it for a while and see if it slows down as the tape gets to the one side, which normally is what happens. Okay, what we have to do here is, you can see the head right here in the middle. We need to clean that up a little bit, and then there's a pinch roller on either side, a little rubber pinch roller is what I call them. I don't know, probably not pinch rollers, but we need to do that on both of the decks. So I will see if I can get some alcohol and then throw it on the floor. Jeez. Alright, and we're just kind of clean whatever's on the head, and then we're gonna clean off those pinch rollers. Like I said, I call them pinch rollers. What happens is those pinch rollers will pick up some crap, and then they either start slipping or they have a lump on them and cause it to get a little stupid. You can see the black is what's coming off of those pinch rollers, and that head had some dirt on it too. Alright, now I'll do the same to the other deck, and then we'll take a look at and see if we need to put a little bit of grease on the mechs. Now the only place I see that we really need to grease anything is there's a little cam right back in there. You can see the grooves in that gear in the back, and that's what drives your deck in and out, or not in and out, but that's what drives it into play. Player 2, deck 2 usually doesn't have as much wear as the first one, because that's the one that's always used, is the first one. don't get any grease on your belts. Alright, now get everything turned on. Let's see, I have a good cassette here. And let's see, rewind is working. Fast forward is working. I don't think I have any blank tapes to see if it'll record. Oh, I'll have to look, but I know I don't. So we'll just have to hope and pray that the record works. This has high-speed dubbing. Alright, now a little indicator. Clean the head, now it doesn't work. Not eating it. Huh. Let's see. That's always nice. It's in there, but it's not. Okay, let's yeah, it's playing. Just not. Alright, let me see what the hell I did to see what I screwed up. Alright, you can hear the pretty bad feedback. And if you hit play, it's kind of in there. It's trying to. Here's what's going on. If I move the jacks, it'll play. So we're gonna have to remove this whole circuit board and see if we got a cold solder joint or something back here. There's not gonna be let's see, first thing we'll do is unplug it. That's always a plus. Yeah, it's definitely, we definitely got a feedback in here. So what we're gonna have to pull that whole board out of there and see if we have a cold solder joint or something on it. hopefully we have all push-on terminals here, and it looks like every one of them's a different size, so we're not going to have to worry too much about how they go back on. All of them are going to be pretty self-explanatory. Uh-oh. That one and that one are both soldered. Those are the ones that go to the deck itself. The two decks. Shoot. I gotta find my cutters. Alright, we need to cut this zippy. That's from the power. And now these both unplug off of our tape decks. And I think they're two different sizes. Yep. So we don't have to worry about those ones either going to the right place. I mean, you can mark them all if you want. That's totally up to you. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws holding our PCB down. I know a lot of you don't think that this goes with, you know, that me working on these electronics here doesn't go with our gaming side, but all this stuff that I'm messing with is all in the same era as our pinball machines that we work on. And to me, oops, that one right here is shorter. But yeah, you know, this is all the stuff that we were listening to and using when we were kids, at least when I was a kid. Okay. What do we got going on? I don't see anything yet. Nothing stuck inside. Wonder if it was grounding off. Yeah, I'm gonna resolder those pins anyway, and I'll look at it under the magnifying glass and see what the hell I can see. I may find something in there that's bad. Let's see, there's nothing in our cable. All right, let me resolder this. I'll look at that under the microscope, under the magnifying glass, and see if I see anything inside, or we're picking up a feedback. Sounds almost like we have wires crossed, like you have the positive and negative touching one another. This board has been either worked on or they did some hand soldering when they built this. But yep, let me take a peek and see what's going on. Okay, hopefully I can get you can see this. Right hand side, watch the back pin. And the one in the front here, right hand side. Both of those are broken from the board. There we go. So what we have is cold solder joints. And that's all, you know, just from what I could tell, just on this side, but we'll do them all since the board's out. This is just from plugging, I don't know where I'm going. This is just from plugging them in, plugging in your cords and ripping them out, plugging them in, pulling them out, plugging them in, pulling them out. The screw helps, but it still happens. You'll find this on a lot of your older electronics, that, you know, it may not be working, but, you know, that's it may not be working. It's usually because we have a bad solder joint on a lot of this stuff. Now, not everything. Kind of getting lost for words here, guys, but anyway, everything else looks good on this board. We'll go ahead and we'll get this and get these all resoldered. I'll do all of them and then we'll put her back in and see what happens. I got that all reflowed. Looks pretty. If you're not familiar with how these are soldered, you know, these boards are not hand soldered. That's why when you look at it like this, like these two, these are there wasn't a whole lot of solder on them, so that's, you know, one of the reasons why they broke loose. What they do is a machine comes through and places all the components on the board, and then the board goes through is put on a conveyor, and there's molten solder that when this goes through, when the board moves through, the molten solder touches the bottom of the board and solders all the components in. Now, on some of the big components are usually hand soldered in, like these two should have been hand soldered, but they weren't. So there wasn't much solder on it. You know, it just goes through and the solder will just touch the pins and it'll suck up enough solder to hold the component in place. Now, most of these are hand soldered. Well, not really hand soldered. Those ones are picked and placed and then heated and soldered down, I think, on the chips, on that style, the surface mounted chips, because that, it couldn't be over, it would fall off. But anyway, that's why, you know, this could have been returned at one point and then refurbished. That's why we see places that have been hand soldered. That pot, and what's the other one? That's a 542K. Yeah, but anyway, it could have been returned and then refurbished at the factory, and that's what was going wrong with them. That's just a kind of a theory that I'm putting out there. It may or may not be. It may have been serviced by somebody else. But that's how these are soldered, and like I said, most of the time the big components are hand soldered because the wave solder, I can't get enough solder on them to keep them put. But you know, hand soldering, that means you have somebody else working. That's just one worker you don't have to have out on the floor hand soldering. So you just place all the components down on the board and then run it through the wave solderer. Solders everything, and then you stick the board in and away you go. But that's how that works. Anyway, let's get this put in and see if we got it fixed. Alright, let's get this board put back in here. There should be a little bit more that holds, that supports those jacks in the back to begin with, but there isn't. So this is what you come up with. Remember, that little short screw went over here. I can get it started. Now, I'm not going to tighten them all the way up until after I get everything put in. I'll show you why here in a minute. Get a couple of these in. Just to hold that in place. Now, what I'm going to do is put in our two screws that hold our jacks in. Now, why I'm putting these in before the circuit board is all tightened up is this way, when I tighten these up, it will pull the circuit board to the back, and it just kind of helps hold it, reinforce, I guess, and that way when you're not putting too much stress on them after you have the circuit board all tight. I'm putting pressure on the back side of these two so they don't have a tendency to bust loose when you're trying to tighten them up. Now we can get them all put in and tightened up. It's just a step I do to, you don't have excess stress on those connectors. You know, the circuit boards are they're put in and they're pretty tight to begin with, but you know, the holes are oblonged a little bit, so there is some movement, and if you tighten the circuit board all up at once and then put your screws in your connectors, it'll have a tendency to want to bend them and break off again. So it's just stress you don't need on them. Now we'll get all of our wires hooked up. Like I said, every one of these connectors is a different size, different number of pins, and a little different looking, a little different shape. so it's kind of hard to put them in a jack where they don't belong. I mean, you can, and like this one here, you know, it only reaches to there. And that one goes here. And we should have a real long one. Yeah, this guy here goes over to there. Alright, now, let's see, out. Plug it back in. Give it some power. Turn it on. We'll scoot that back a little bit so you can see. No humming. Cleared up the hum. Yep, it is on. Now let's see if it works or if I screwed it up. There you go. Okay. Now I'll run through and make sure, you know, that both sides play all the way through. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do about recording yet. We'll see what happens. Let me get the decks checked out and make sure they're going to play all the way through before we start talking about recording. Okay, got everything checked out. Both decks play just fine. Forwards and backwards. This does have the auto reverse. So when it goes to the end of the tape, it turns itself. The little head will flip around and start playing back the other way. Now we test the recording part of it. I got this figured out. I tried to download the manual, and when I clicked on the contents to download a PDF, I picked up a Trojan, a virus. So that was the only place I could find the PDF manual for this. So I just come over and started mashing buttons until I figured it out myself. If we're going to dub from one tape to another, you push dubbing. Your dubbing light will come on and your record light will come on. And now we're flashing on our play. Because see, since this one will play both ways, you can hit play this way or play this way. It flips it around. We're going to make it simple. Right now I have Billy playing that way, and I have the blank tape recording that way. So we push play on Billy and record the other way. Now I can't play very long because of copyright claims, and I don't want any copyright claims on this video, but I don't think I'll play this one. You can see it's playing fine. Now we'll reverse. Whoops. Let's see, that one's going that way, so we need to hit rewind that way. And this one's playing this way. We'll hit play. And you can see it records. It records too. That's the dubbing part of it, to where you can, like I said, record songs off a tape, playback 1 onto record playback 2. And the other RCA jacks in the back are for lines in. So like if you want to record off of an album, you run it in the back, and then you can hit record and record on your blank tape. You can see this This is not another Billy Idol. That is a blank tape that I have. So you see all the functions are working on this as well, which is a plus. So now what I need to do is get this thing cleaned up and it'll be ready. Okay, I'm just going to put this in there just in case some people aren't familiar with what auto reverse is. The switch here, you can, if you put this on reverse, which is a little arrows flipping around in circles, and here it's just kind of no. Now we're at the end of the tape. You can see I push this way, play, that lights up. And we'll give it a minute there, and then it flipped over, reached the end, and it flipped over. Now it'll start playing back the other way. And that's what your auto reverse. You're not constantly flipping tapes around every time you come to the end. If you have this on reverse mode, it'll just flip over. It'll just flip and start playing back the other way, and you don't have to go over and pull the cassette out and flip it over and put it back in. But that's what your auto reverse does. Alright, there it is, all finished up, cleaned up, and working. And nice little cassette deck. This Techwood TDX85, it has really good sound, and I was really surprised. You know, a lot of these you would think would be a cheaper brand would be, you know, they wouldn't sound good or record good. This one does both. It sounds really good and records good. So if you ever do have a chance to pick up one of these, but you're not too sure about it, well, we just went over it, and they are a decent cassette deck. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Until then, see ya.